For our next questions, we'll go to Mr. Grothman from Wisconsin.
Yeah, thanks. First of all, just, you know, you're right, you don't see boxing on TV much anymore. But wasn't there a time in this country where if you were in the service, you either had to pick and be a boxer or a wrestler? You want to comment on that?
Yeah, I can just jump in here quickly and just say, you know, virtually every branch of the U.S. military now trains in some form of combat sports, mixed martial arts, boxing, wrestling, et cetera. So I think what you're saying is absolutely accurate.
Yeah, I think during the 50s, if you were in the military. Okay. Your written testimony, well, this is for you, Mr. Epstein. Your written testimony also says the current mega event model in boxing financially benefits a few boxers at the top. How would the creation of a UBO organization promote growth for the sport and success spread out among the boxers a little bit more?
Yeah, I think the model really is what we've done at the UFC. You know, we purchased the UFC in 2001. We were doing a handful of events, 4 or 5 events per year. In 2026, we'll do 43 events. Typically, that's 12 to 14 bouts per event. So that's, you know, essentially 24 to 28 athletes competing. This is the type of stuff that we're going to do in the world of boxing. We're going to increase capacity. We're going to not just create opportunities for 1 or 2 boxers every few years to do a mega fight, but create a consistent cadence of events, which of course means a consistent cadence of work for a huge number of boxers. As I mentioned at UFC, we're 750 athletes currently, plus or minus a few. This is the type of aspirations that certainly we have for the boxing industry. And that means, as I said, not just more athletes making more money on a per round basis, but actually more athletes making money in general.
Okay, how would the unified boxing organizations coordinate with state athletic commissions?
State athletic commissions are a key part, and they're really the linchpin for all of the regulatory, health and safety, athlete payment issues that relate to boxing in this country. So every single event that we would do in the United States of America would only be done if it was sanctioned by a state athletic commission. So we do a lot of work with Andy in California. That would be the case if we did events in California. And unless you want to repeat that, we would not be doing any events in this country without them being fully sanctioned by athletic commissions.
I remember the golden days of boxing, and everything was always on Friday nights in ESPN. I'd like to watch. It was just tremendous. That being said, also love to watch football. And there have been lawsuits and such over football players. Even though they're okay when they're playing, the real injuries kick in when they're 55 or 60 years old. And in boxing, you have a sport in which the goal is even to knock people out, which you don't have in football. That's a rare thing that you see. How would you respond to criticism? And are there any statistics available on the number of, say, boxers who have Alzheimer's or whatever they get, say, 20 years after they retire compared to football players and the injuries that they get?
You raise a very important issue, one that at the UFC we've been involved in for almost 15 years now in investigating these issues. And I think the primary goal that we have is to allow our athletes to make informed decisions about their health and safety, provide them with information so they can make informed decisions. What we've been doing for the last 15 years approximately is funding, being the primary funder, along with some of the boxing promoters, by the way. They have contributed. In a groundbreaking study with the Cleveland Clinic, the Cleveland Clinic has an outpost in Las Vegas. The goal of this study is twofold. Number one, are certain people just predisposed towards brain injury because of their physiology? And number two, are there early indications that we can see before someone starts manifesting a cognitive deficit? We can see they're heading down the wrong path and get them out of the sport. It's not great to diagnose somebody with CT after they've got it, but figuring out ways to stop people from getting it is the key. Yeah. This study that we've been involved in, as I said, with UFC athletes, with boxers, with other workers that have potential for brain injury, lots of data has come out of that, and we could share that data with this committee if you're interested in that. But I think around 40 or 50 peer-reviewed journals have looked at that data, and we're getting closer every day to a way where we can hopefully make as a condition of licensure for MMA athletes, for boxers, some sort of a test that will indicate if you're predisposed to a brain injury or you're heading down the wrong path, you're out of the sport, you can't get a license.
I'll just leave you a second. I knew a guy who was a very good football player, on the collegiate level, but very, very good. And after he graduated from college, he started his own business, very successful, super guy. But he wound up getting Alzheimer's when he was like in his early 50s. And nobody's ever going to convince me that that was a coincidence, that this guy who used to brag to me that he'd hit guys with the crown of his helmet, which you're not supposed to do. He was a good football player. It was a damn shame he died, I think, before age 60. And I want you guys, as you work through this, to think about that. Because just because a guy doesn't have a serious injury the day of the fight or the week after the fight, doesn't mean that over a course of 20 fights, he's going to have something that pops up when he's 55 years old, which is what's happened to the NFL now. So thanks.
Thank you.
Excuse me, may I add something to the testimony that Mr. Epstein just gave?
Please, Mrs. Ali, go ahead.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Congressman, for your questions, because I think they're important. And as I said in my testimony, brain health is especially important to me because my husband suffered with Parkinson's disease, not from boxing, but I have seen what boxing can do to people. As you said, hitting people with your head can later in life bring on Alzheimer's. That's why I am so proud and happy that this particular act brings in brain health as an issue, as a component, where this MRI, MRAs will be performed every 3 years so that the detection of brain health, the boxer will know where he is headed, how his brain health is, because you can see the imaging. You can see the damage that might be done and where it might lead to, especially when you are being seen by a neurologist who that is their expertise. As Mr. Epstein mentioned, out in the Cleveland Clinic out in Las Vegas does that specifically for boxers. So no other provision in this, the parallel, I should say, the parallel boxing industry provides for this. No one asked my husband to take a required MRI to be sanctioned, to be licensed. This was something we did later, of course, in his life and found out about the Parkinson's disease, but it wasn't asked for any other boxer. So this is a provision, I think, that is a strength that shows that the UBOs would be very, very interested and protective of the athlete. And one of the provisions, as I said, that I am so proud to have in there.
Thank you.